On the 29th of October 2022, after 2 years trying to unmask Ransom Man, the Finnish authorities finally announced that they had a name and a face. 25-year-old Aleksanteri Julius Kivimäki was added to Europol's list of most wanted criminals. He's chubby-cheeked and floppy-haired in his photo on the Europol website, staring impassively into the camera alongside mugshots of murderers, kidnappers and drug traffickers. This is the face of the self-styled, untouchable hacker god, suspected of stealing the most personal data imaginable, the therapy notes of 33,000 Vastaamo patients. The biggest crime in Finnish history. Pasi Vainio, the Deputy Chief District Prosecutor, is the man who put Kivimäki on that list.
I issued investigation orders around Europe to get some hints.
Ransom Man, the extortionist who had hacked Vastaamo, had always insisted he'd never be brought to justice. In the messages he'd sent to Vastaamo 2 years earlier, he'd at one point demanded €20,000 a month, every month, until he was caught. Even in the unlikely event that they identify us, he wrote, we are far beyond their reach.
The act itself tells that someone is arrogant enough to think that he is unreachable.
Pasi and his team believed Julius Kivimäki was behind it, but what evidence did they have, and would they ever catch him? I'm Jenny Kleeman, and from BBC Radio 4 and Intrigue, this is Ransom Man. Episode 4, The Zen Garden. I meet Pasi in the Prosecutor General's office, a maze of corridors and wood panelling. Pasi's very tall, with a neat beard and a crisply ironed shirt. There's an old-fashioned air to him. He somehow manages to exude both authority and warmth, like a kind of calm, dependable uncle.
It's something that
working on this case has changed him, he tells me.
I blocked myself from all social media and stuff like that. It's getting harder for me to understand why people give out their information. Once it's out there, it's lost.
He's been a prosecutor for 15 years. He spent 8 of them specialising in cybercrime. So he's not easily shocked by the work that lands on his desk. But this case disturbed him.
Vastaamo was the biggest case that we've had, very different from anything so far.
What made it different?
From day one, it was very clear that the amount of suffering that's involved was unimaginable.
Now, with the expectations of tens of thousands of victims on his shoulders, it was Pasi's responsibility to bring the perpetrator to justice. The first question for him and his team was, where to begin? One thing the investigators weren't short of was data. In many ways, there was too much. Terabytes and terabytes to sift through. For 3 days, Ransom Man had been drip-feeding the therapy notes online, in batches of 100 a day, until he accidentally dumped the entire database of over 30,000 patient records. Whoopsie, as the hacker himself put it. It was a particularly catastrophic mistake, because as well as the patient data, Ransom Man had accidentally released the entire contents of the home folder of his own computer. For the police, it was a goldmine, a portal to millions of pages of documents, videos, images, and browsing habits. It contained Ransom Man's command history. That meant investigators could piece together exactly what the hacker had been doing on his computer. They could see that as well as searching for keywords like rape, abuse, and child molestation in the database of Vastaamo patient records, Ransom Man had been looking for things that would only be of interest to Julius Kivimäki.
There was a search on Mr. Kivimäki's own home address, and other searches, we think that they were linked to him finding out before the publications that there was not the information of someone close to him, of family members.
He's searching for people close to him within the data set to check
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I think he ensured that there was not harmful information about him or people close to him.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Before anything was made public, Ransom Man had ensured that the patient records didn't contain anything related to Kivimäki or his loved ones.
Although, of course, he could argue that somebody could have been doing that to implicate him.
Of course, that's before that error that had been made. It's quite a conspiracy to leave trails, and if you make an error afterwards, that releases the information of the server.
It's not in keeping with somebody who would accidentally dump all the data to have been a criminal mastermind and done searches that would stitch up someone else in the past.
Next, the home folder led investigators to key bits of tech that had been paid for using a credit card they established had belonged to Kivimäki.
We had the card that had been used to link Mr. Kivimäki in the real world to activities, paying for servers, and he also used some services, Apple, hotels, OnlyFans.
He was paying for the rent of the servers with a credit card that he had used to look at porn on OnlyFans.
Well, yeah. When you put it like that, it's a yes.
This same credit card provided other evidence that would prove vital to the case that Julius Kivimäki and Ransom Man were the same person. Kivimäki had paid for a server that had been used to store a backup of the entire database stolen from Vastaamo. But aside from the credit card, there were other ways of connecting Kivimäki to Ransom Man. When Vastaamo was first negotiating with the hacker, the police made a payment of 0.1 of a bitcoin, equivalent to around €1,000. It was a breadcrumb. It gave the authorities something to follow. They managed to trace it from a bitcoin account to a money laundering service.
And from that money laundering service, it went to Mr. Kivimäki's bank account.
Other clues on Ransom Man's home folder called for some old-fashioned detective work.
We found a picture of a lake view.
It was entitled beach.jpg, an image of a lake with rocky shores lined with trees.
One of the investigators said, I bet that this is from Kivimäki's grandparents' cabin. And another investigator said that if that's the case, I'll eat a hat full of shit.
Pasi doesn't say whether any hatfuls were ever eaten, but when investigators travelled to Kivimäki's grandparents' cabin,
it was the same view.
The investigator was proved right. And there was another key piece of evidence, but it wasn't on the home folder. It came from the real world, from the UK, from my home city.
He was in London when the crimes were committed.
We're sitting in this lush, beautiful London park with a fountain in the middle, lots of London plane trees, surrounded by buildings. And we know that when Ransom Man was searching through the database, looking for the most outrageous things that he could leak, so details of affairs, suicidal thoughts, details of paedophilia. He was doing it from an address in London. That physical address in London had the IP address of this building just next to us here.
An IP address is kind of like a postcode for your computer or phone that can give pretty accurate information about where you are in the real world when you're online.
And we also know that the person who is living in the same flat as that IP address at the time was Julius Kivimäki.
As well as being a vital part of the investigation, this address also gives us an insight into the kind of life Kivimäki was able to enjoy and afford. Kivimäki's credit card statements from this time showed that he was enjoying fine dining, regular saunas and even manicures while he was living in London. And he'd chosen to rent in one of the most expensive areas in the whole of the UK.
We're about a 3-minute walk from the headquarters of Channel 4, I spent many years making television programmes for Channel 4. So this is an area I know really well. I used to come here all the time on my way to work. It's near Westminster Abbey. It's a part of London, though, that can feel quite cold because it's full of kind of official buildings and offices and important places. But there's not really a kind of community around here. It's full of transient people who are coming here on business. It's a rich outsider's view of Englishness.
I wonder if anyone around here remembers Julius Kivimäki. My producer Sam and I managed to make it into the lobby of his apartment block.
Okay, in we go. Right, so marble stairs, smoked bronze, banisters. Ooh, there's a little fountain in the communal gardens, and there is a concierge desk. Oh, here we go.
Hi. Hi there. Can I ask you, do you recognise this man?
Show me the picture again. No.
The concierge is happy for us to go out into the block's private courtyard, overlooked by balconies and floor-to-ceiling windows.
Ooh, now this is nice. I think you could fairly call this a Zen garden, couldn't you? I mean, what would he have been, 23? To be 23 years old and living here, he would have had to have had quite a serious income to be able to afford to live here. I can see somebody's watching TV on a giant screen, and they're watching Russian TV.
We sit for a moment in this Zen garden, this oasis of calm and tranquility in the centre of the city, and I think about the chaos, the turmoil and suffering caused in one of the apartments that overlooks it. We ring Kivimäki's old doorbell, but no one answers. We have a little more luck in the cafe next door.
You want the picture of the guy here?
This person, it was a while ago.
Yeah, I've seen it before. Yeah.
You've seen him before.
Yeah.
What do you remember about him?
Tall.
Yes, he's very tall.
He's European, but from Finland.
Yes, he's from Finland. Do you remember anything about him?
No. We come here for a few drinks, a few whatever.
Yeah.
This cafe, this address, is seconds away from the HQ of MI5, the UK's security service. Ransom Man was rifling through the Vastaamo database just down the road in Julius Kivimäki's posh London flat.
It's so brazen, I would say, 20 metres away from MI5 and where all the spies are. This person was doing this. It's insane.
The IP address, the command history, the credit card, the cabin. By October 2022, over 2 years since the first ransom demand, Pasi felt there was enough evidence to charge Kivimäki with hacking Vastaamo and trying to blackmail its customers. But there was a problem. By this point, Kivimäki had long since left London behind. No one knew where he was. That was when his face and name were added to Europol's list of most wanted fugitives.
One Friday morning, the media called me. Is he still your client?
Peter Jaari is the defence lawyer who'd represented 14-year-old Kivimäki when he was facing charges for hacking into the prestigious university MIT, and later when he had called in a bomb threat that grounded the plane carrying the boss of PlayStation. Kivimäki had been found guilty of those offences, but he'd managed to avoid jail. This time, the stakes felt far higher.
A warrant had been put out for his arrest.
And then from there it started.
What was he doing when the crimes took place?
2020, wasn't he in the UK? And then he was in France. Then he was in Dubai. So somewhere there between.
How was he making a living?
They were developing software or systems to sell to insurance company to determine the company's vulnerability in the cyber.
So he had legitimate sources of revenue at the time?
I'm not his accountant, but yes.
On the one hand, Peter seems so approachable, so open, but he never forgets who he's working for. He bats away anything that would paint his client in a negative light. I can't work out what to make of Kivimäki now, a man suspected of carrying out a horrific crime, but absolutely bungling it by uploading his entire home folder. who's then able to evade the authorities across Europe. Is he sloppy or slick?
And then he goes on the run.
Well, apparently so. I don't know if he started running somewhere.
Were you in touch with him?
I think I lost his number, and then I didn't hear from him.
Detective Marko Lepponen, the lead investigator on the case for the Finnish police force, tells me over Zoom that he knew his suspect was particularly slippery.
The one fear I had was that we couldn't find the suspect and this will stay open years and years to come.
There was a chance that he could be on the run forever.
Not forever, but for years.
But Kivimäki had an Achilles heel. He just couldn't stop showing off online. In December 2020, someone using an online handle linked to Ransom Man was posting on Ululauta, Finland's version of 4chan. He uploaded a photo taken in front of a swimming pool. It's of his hand holding up an Evian misting spray with a copy of a luxury travel magazine behind it. Investigators zoomed in on the photo and worked out that the fingerprints matched Kivimäki's. 2 years later, when the authorities were searching for Kivimäki across Europe, he popped up in an Instagram video, quaffing champagne and partying with friends in a plush apartment in Saint-Tropez. In the footage, to me, Kivimäki looks quite drunk. He's grinning and lip-syncing to Bohemian Rhapsody. Easy come, easy go.
Something that we have learned from the evidence as well, he is very financially driven. He has grown up from the bully from Lizard Squad and Hack the Planet in using his motivation and ruthlessness in gaining money.
Pasi says he's financially driven. He's in it for the cash. But listening to him, I'm thinking there's so much more to this than money. Kivimäki didn't just want to live the life of an international playboy. He wanted to flaunt it. If he hacked Vastaamo, what was his motivation? Making other people envious? Winning clout from other hackers? Or was he still just in it for the lols?
It's about more than money, though, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Of course, he values money, but also it gives him the tools to show it off to everyone else and get people commenting on that. One might say that he likes attention. He's not a coder, he's something else.
What is he?
He has some ruthlessness, some skill, and a lack of empathy, I think.
Lack of empathy.
Yes, that's my personal opinion.
At 7 a.m, on Friday the 3rd of February 2023, when Kivimäki had been on Europol's most wanted list for 3 months, French police are called out to investigate a report of domestic violence at an apartment in Courbevoie, a suburb of Paris known for its glimmering high-rises. They knock on the door. There's no answer. So they take out a battering ram and break it open. Inside, they find a couple, but no sign of any disturbance. The man is bleary-eyed, bewildered. He hands over his passport, which identifies him as Hasan Ahmed, a Romanian national. It's 8 a.m. in Finland, and Marko and Pasi are beginning their working day while the French police are thumbing through Hasan Ahmed's passport.
They had something that was bothering them and they decided to do a double check, which isn't normal.
There was something about Ahmed's appearance, Pasi tells me. Something that just didn't look right.
We have a tall, Scandinavian-looking guy, 195 centimeters tall. So I think they just thought that something's off.
Acting on that feeling, they put Hasan Ahmed's name through a database, and it came up as a known alias for Julius Kivimäki. The French police had stumbled upon one of the most wanted criminals in Europe. There was no disturbance in the apartment, but the police were called out to it all the same. I'm hoping Pasi can explain this to me.
In terms of the domestic violence call, do you know who made the call?
I think it was a friend of Mr. Kivimäki's wife at the time.
Kivimäki, his wife and her friend had been out drinking together all night, Pasi tells me. They were all wasted.
I haven't been told that anything had actually happened in the flat, but the call was made.
The call was made out of genuine concern.
That's what I've had information of, yeah.
I'm interested to know if the call was made out of genuine concern, because if it wasn't, then maybe someone called the police to stitch Kivimäki up. Maybe, in a way, Kivimäki got swatted. We've tried to reach Kivimäki's wife and her friend for this series, but have been unable to contact them. However it began, it ended with Kivimäki in custody. First in France, then eventually back in Finland. The police finally had their guy. Or did they? When they were almost at the finish line, Marko Lepponen headed into the office of his chief investigator with a mug of coffee.
I said to him that last night I woke up and I was afraid that we have a wrong guy. Then he told me that, Marko, sit down, I will tell you. And he told me half an hour that we have a right guy.
Do you think that was just your mind playing tricks on you in the middle of the night, or did you ever have serious doubts?
No, I think it was a lot of pressures, more my mind than actual hesitation. It's the spider web of evidence that you are building. And the result is, at the end, that there are no other options. This guy is our suspect.
When I first started looking into this story, I was convinced that to really understand it, I had to speak to Kivimäki. I wanted to understand what kind of person could be held responsible for a crime like this, whether the hack was extraordinary, perpetrated by an exceptional person, a one-off, or whether what happened to Vastaamo is a cautionary tale, the sort of crime anyone could commit, one that could easily happen again and again anywhere across the world. And it looked like Kivimäki might be willing to give me an interview, at first. But before we could travel to Finland to record it, he changed his mind. My producer Sam and I wrote him emails. I had video calls with Peter, asking what I could do to get him to agree to talk. But nothing made a difference.
I'm very sorry about...
Let's see
Julius
what happens.
Is not willing. I've asked him 3 to 4 times.
Well, we can talk about that. We're still... Now we're in Finland. I'm not giving up.
Why won't he speak to me, Peter?
I don't know, Jenny. I don't know what happened.
I think he'd enjoy speaking to me, Peter. I think he'd
I'm
find it...
sure he would.
I hadn't had any hope that anyone would ever be prosecuted or convicted for this. It seemed like an impossible task.
Meri Tuli Auer had been scared to leave her flat when she found out someone had stolen her therapy notes. Now, the man accused of the crime was back in her home country.
I think when I first saw pictures of him, I don't know what I had expected, but I was sort of surprised to see that he looked so normal. He looks like just a regular Finnish young man. You see people like him walking around the streets all the time.
And did that make it more frightening?
Sort of, but there were also immediately news about his criminal history, his previous crimes. I was like, I don't know, man, it seems like this could be our guy.
Tiina Parikka, the head teacher, tells me it was a relief to hear Kivimäki had been arrested. But once she learned he had returned to face justice, that relief turned to panic.
I had seen information on the media that he was brought to Finland and that he was in a court hearing. And I saw that there might be some video clips, and I didn't want to see him. I felt really anxious about it. I was so disgusted with him.
Since embarking on this story, I've been trying to understand what Ransom Man's motivation really was. And towards the end of my time with Pasi, he concedes that he thinks this crime was about something much darker than simple financial gain.
When talking about Ransom Man, besides money, it was about power. You have power over a business. You have their most sensitive information. You have the power to make them bankrupt. And at that point, when you start publishing people's mental patient records, you realize that you have power over individuals as well. And he has power over a whole nation. That was the atmosphere here in Finland at that point.
Power over the whole nation. The power to horrify and to terrify all of Finland.
And he enjoyed that.
Well, I can't go to anyone's head, but when looking at the acts themselves, I think that's a good conclusion.
Each day at 8:30 p.m, Tina and her partner like to lie on the sofa together and watch the evening news. One night, the opening shot was Julius Kivimäki strolling into court.
Kivimäki came to my living room and what he did was so makes me sick to my stomach, because he was there. He was grinning and smirking and laughing. And then he turned to his lawyer saying that, oh, what a pity I didn't have time to have a haircut.
I've seen this footage too. As cameras flash, Kivimäki takes it all in with a smile on his face. He looks totally at ease.
So he was playing like a star. It was so arrogant. I still can.
Yeah, I can see you're overcome just remembering it now.
And I didn't sleep the next night.
For so long, all Tina and the other victims had been able to do was speculate about who Ransom Man was and how he was prepared to do what he did. Now, 3 years after their deepest secrets were held to ransom, 25-year-old Julius Kivimäki was finally facing justice. A man who revels in having power and control was going to have his day in court, beginning the 23rd of November 2023. There was a web of evidence linking Ransom Man to Julius Kivimäki, but would it be enough? Could the man who called himself the untouchable hacker god prove himself untouchable once again?
Who do you think you are?
And even when he was on trial, might he still be able to slip through their fingers?
Then the media called, and we had to then tell that Mr. Kivimäki is missing.
Ransom Man is written and presented by me, Jenny Kleeman. The producer is Sam Peach. The executive producer is Georgia Catt. The commissioner is Dan Clark, and the commissioning executive is Tracy Williams. Sound design by Sam Peach. Original music for the series was composed, performed and produced by Echo Collective. It's a BBC Studios production for BBC Radio 4.